Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albracht and Tommy Castor.
All right, welcome in, everybody. A Friday edition of Sports Daily here on KFH. A Friday edition that will start in a little different way than we anticipated, certainly. A very prominent story happening out in Louisville right now. We'll get into that in just a little bit. Jake Albracht here with Tommy Castor alongside Jad Chambers, producing, manning your IHOP hotline, which is brought to you by IHOP. You can visit IHOP and try the movie-inspired menu flavors like the magnificent French toast sandwich. You can get that, and you can dial us in, 869-1240, if you want to chime in on anything. That's if you're listening to us. If you're watching us, you can simply leave your comments on our video stream, which you'll find on the KFH page of Facebook, YouTube, and X. Share that out to your friends, everybody. Let's see if we can continue to bring more people into the show. But it is an easy way to get in touch with us if you're not able to give us a call. We get lots of good comments there, and we try to get to those on the air. It is a day that we certainly didn't anticipate starting the way that it did. So this has been a chaotic morning at the PGA Championship at Valhalla. Tommy, I woke up, you'd already seen it. I started to follow along, and I think it's strange, it's interesting, certainly. It's tragic in the very beginning of it, but this is pretty wild stuff here that certainly nobody anticipated.
Yeah, it's bizarre when you wake up in the morning and the first thing you see when you check social media is a mugshot of Scottie Scheffler, the world's #1 golfer. And it's just the whole circumstances around it. Insane. A fatal accident that didn't include Scheffler happened like an hour before Scheffler was even anywhere near the area. Fatal accident with a pedestrian and a bus outside of Valhalla. That's definitely tragic in and of itself. And then, I don't exactly know everything that went down other than Scottie Scheffler, attempting to try to get to the golf course. I guess he maybe, what did you say? He sounds like he mistook.
Yeah. So
police officers as security.
Scheffler talked to Jeff Darlington, and now his attorney has said something. So here's what it sounds like happened. So a worker at the event was killed by a shuttle, which is just insanely sad. Yeah. And so they had a major traffic situation happening about the time all the golfers were trying to get there. And Scheffler was one of those golfers. Well, Scheffler's in a marked car. So I'm assuming what happens typically is they're in a marked car and they will, kind of be guided around to get through the regular, traffic of the tournament goers so they can get where they need to be. So apparently that was happening. Scheffler misunderstood from what his attorney is saying now. And really the arresting details don't really dispute much of this. So basically the arresting details are that he was ignoring the directives of a police officer and then through his vehicle assaulted him because he, I guess, bumped and knocked down a police officer who then ripped his pants. And that's not me making a joke. That's for real. And that's, a part of the reason, and one of the charges is that the uniform was whatever. So I guess Scheffler, right before he went out, told Darlington, I was trying to do what I thought they were telling me to do. I misunderstood. I stopped as soon as I figured it out. And, in basic, and then he quickly, before anything, was like, we're just all really sad for the person that died in that, in that accident. So his attorney just put out a statement, and I'll read it to you here because it just right before we came out on the air. It says, in the early hours of the morning, in advance of his tee time, Scottie was going to the course to begin his pre-round preparation. Due to the combination of event traffic and a traffic fatality in the area, it was a chaotic situation. He was proceeding as directed by another traffic officer and driving a marked player's vehicle with credentials visible. In the confusion, Scottie is alleged to have disregarded a different officer's traffic signals, resulting in the charges. Multiple eyewitnesses have confirmed that he did not do anything wrong, but was simply proceeding as directed. He stopped immediately upon being directed to, and never at any point assaulted any officer with his vehicle. We will litigate this matter as needed, and he will be completely exonerated. He will be completely exonerated. I think
he will.
This is all a big misunderstanding. And I know people are trying to poop all over the police officers there. look, somebody died in an accident. Imagine for a second, and this escalated probably to an unnecessary level. I'm not saying it did not, but I can't imagine Scotty Scheffler is going to be too terribly upset by any of this. You've got a chaotic situation. Somebody has died. There's tons of traffic. It's raining. Like, these officers are trying to get people where they need to be. It's dangerous. I think if you pay attention, like, there are more, I think there are a lot of officers that get killed by cars when they're trying to do their job. And so it's sensitive. You got to be, and we should be a little sensitive to that also, right? You're out there with people driving at you, trying to. So if things escalated quickly as nobody clearly understood exactly what was happening, okay, fine. He's there now. None of this stuff is going to stick. They're going to drop all of this, and it's not that big a deal. It's just wild to see it.
Yeah, and what's remarkable is we're like 20 seconds away from him teeing off in his round. Like, I've got it on in the background right now. He is on the tee on number 1 as we speak. What's unfortunate with all of this, and yes, like, I agree with you. I think that he's going to be exonerated. This is going to be an afterthought, no big deal, whatever. What's unfortunate is that in today's world of social media and all of that, he was wearing orange. They took a mugshot of him that will live on forever.
Sure it will.
Jeff Darlington from ESPN, who I have a ton of respect for. He's incredible. One of the best that they have. He was at the right place at the right time, or the wrong place at the wrong time, able to film the actual arrest. That video of Scotty Scheffler walking to a police car with handcuffs behind his back, that will live on forever. That's the unfortunate part of all of this. And the charges that they have levied against him, like, if you don't know the context around it, look bad. Like, they really do, until you know the context around it.
Only arresting charges, though. People.
Right.
Like, those are not, like, the district attorney, the courts have not charged him with these. These are arresting charges. They're very different than what actually gets charged. So,
like, felony second-degree assault on an officer. Like, what are we doing here?
They're simply putting down why they arrested him. Okay, so it's not that's not how that works. You don't get arrested for something and that's immediately what you go to court for. Charges have to formally then be brought against you. At least in every place I've ever lived. I don't think it's any different in Louisville or anywhere else. But that's not, mistakes are made all the time. The police are not our judicial system, right? They enforce the law, and then you have the judicial system. He's not going to get charged with this stuff. And so it's not that big a deal. It will all be water under the bridge. I would say that it's something everybody will be able to, like, have fun with and laugh at some point, but probably not, because somebody died and got hit by a car. That's why all this happened in the first place. So, I mean, that's the reality of it, is Scheffler is just about to tee off right now.
He got a nice response from the crowd.
Of course he did. And he's going to handle this the right. He already is saying the right things, and his attorney's saying the right things. Like, they're not, like, they don't seem to be angered by this at all. I mean, and he, of course, right down the middle, it looks like they're on his opening tee shot. Yeah, he's in good shape. So I look, it's not that big a deal. I don't think they'll be able to have fun with it like they normally would. Like, normally you could really have fun with this. You won't be able to do that now because of the circumstances around it. And it's fine. Like, I don't think this impacts Scotty Scheffler's golf tournament at all. I think that if, he's as mentally sound as any athlete, as far as, like, it's part of his greatness, right? And it's just,
I think the other thing I'll say is that, as we go through the remainder of this tournament today and into the weekend, Scheffler's not at the top of the leaderboard right now. And regardless of what happens with him, Xander Schauffele is leading the tournament. Nobody's talking about Xander Schauffele this morning. Rory McIlroy is a couple back, Tony Finau, a couple of other golfers are right there. It is, but whoever wins this tournament, not that it'll be overshadowed by this, but there will be another discussion going on at the same time, parallel to whoever wins this tournament. Now, what would be remarkable is if Scotty goes on a run like we've seen him do so often in major tournaments, and, like, this locks him in even more, and he just blows everybody away. Like, at that point, like, all right, we're talking like Tiger Woods territory here. And another, like, comparison, I haven't seen, like, this kind of discussion around golf since, Tiger has had his own run-ins with the law before in totally different situations.
Shooter McGavin just came off the top rope. I just retweeted it. It's good. There's going to be some of that. I hate that. I really, really, really hate the circumstances. That's what was so strange about this morning is I saw it all, and as I'm seeing it, and I'm seeing other golfers like walking, I'm like, how on earth could a major tournament be facing this sort of a traffic situation? Then I found out what happened, like what the reason for all this was in the first place. And I'm like, holy, that is horrible. Like, I think it was an older man who works the tournament that's usually on a volunteer basis on these things that was hit by a shuttle bus. Like, I'm like, oh my God, like that is going to have, and I'm not kidding. Like, if you think like the mental aspect of Scheffler getting arrested is looming, like that would have an impact, that ain't going to have half the impact of that somebody was hit by a bus and killed. Like, that's going to mess with people, not Scheffler in a misunderstanding.
And I think what's jarring about all of this morning is how good of a guy, by all accounts, Scotty Scheffler is. And he is,
right?
As far as we know. And so Big Cat from Barstool Sports, this is pretty funny to me. He tweeted, Scotty is such a nice guy that he refused to "Do you know who I am" line, even though this may have been the only time that line has ever actually been warranted. And like, that's Scotty. Like, he's just unassuming. He's like, and I remember watching season 1 of Full Swing on Netflix when he and his wife were featured before they had their baby a couple of weeks ago. And just like the most genuine, like, small town, seems like nice, down to earth people. And speaking of Full Swing, can you imagine the footage that they're going to have in season 3 of Full Swing after today? I mean, it's going to be wild.
I've never watched it. Maybe I should. I've never seen it, but I know that's why a lot of people really, really, really like him. It's a wild day. There's just not the way we thought we'd wake up by any means. Like, what a strange set of circumstances. And, if he's able to maintain, and we think that he will, it's really more about Schauffele, isn't it? Like, Scheffler,
it is.
When Scheffler goes out in round 1 and fires a 4 under, it feels like he's locked in, right? And going to be in great position, because he'll probably at minimum fire 3 more 4 unders off, right? And probably better than that. It's really Schauffele who, correct me if I'm wrong, because you're way more dialed into this than I am. He does not have a major, right? But
he does not.
But he's considered one of the top guys.
Yeah, in fact, so he shot a 62 yesterday in the opening round. That ties the lowest round ever in, I think, the PGA Championship. I don't know if it's in any major, but it might be. And what's interesting about Schauffele is he does not have a major, but last year in the PGA Championship, he also shot a 62 in one of the rounds and didn't win. So he's been there before. That's been the knock on Schauffele, is that he's not been able to put together, an entire 4 rounds of golf.
Yeah, it's there will be good comedy that comes out of this. We'll separate that from the other situation that happened, which of course is so sad, but there's a lot of good stuff coming right now out of this. And like, do you know who I am? I don't think anybody knew, because I don't think anybody cared in the moment, right? And that's, I don't know. Like,
I'm seeing all these things that are coming out. A picture on Twitter of Johnny Cochran with the caption, "If he's next on the tee, he must be set free." I mean, just like, this is comedy gold. I know there, you have to separate out the tragedy that happened before any of this situation went down. There's gonna be some funny things. Already have been some funny things that have come out.
There are, and everybody can, again, like, separate it out from everything else, and it is pretty funny. And these things happen, and I'm sure that the police officers today are like, "Oh crap!" Like, what, man? Like, and I don't want them to, like, I don't like that they're getting, and that's a department that has some history anyway. But I don't like that. These guys out there just trying to navigate this. I guess they made a mistake. We need a little more circumstance around that. Yeah. But even if they did, like, you get it. Like, I get why. It's raining. It's weird. It's crazy. Somebody just died. You're trying to make sure you don't die and get hit by a car when maybe the driving conditions aren't great. Like, I get all of that. But to be working the event and not know who the top guy is, that kind of is at a disadvantage. I'm certain that if he realized, like, oh, this is one of the golfers, this would not have been a problem. So
yeah,
It's out there. We'll see. We'll follow along. Scheffler's playing this morning, so we'll follow along throughout the morning here and see how he does in his round. We have a lot of other stuff to get to. So, that just sort of sets us up. We've got K-State landing a big-time transfer guy. We wondered if this would happen yesterday. It does. So we can look at their class now because I think they got something pretty good cooking here in Manhattan for the next basketball season. Tommy and I are going to give you the way too early season win total over-unders that we like on either side from the NFL. Now that we have the schedules, like what do we see on that, over-under as we get a little predictive with an NFL season for the first time here, anyway, on this show. Again, you can call into the show at 869-1240. You can find us on our video stream as well, Facebook, YouTube, X. We want to say thanks to Prairie Fire Coffee for always keeping us fueled up at KFH and all the Odyssey family each and every morning. We'll come back. More Sports Daily right after this.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
This is going to be an all-time day on X, on Twitter, as far as just really, really good content out there for this one. And there are still people. I've got people there are still people who don't know what's happened or what's happening, and they're like, what is going on right now?
And in true Scotty Scheffler fashion, he just birdied number one. So I mean, I'm gonna be locked in. I know the entire world is gonna be on this round. He's gonna go out there and shoot. He's gonna break the course record. He's gonna shoot a 61 today. Like that's just what's gonna happen. I just there's no other way that this could play out.
What a wild story. Like sometimes you just we've seen everything. Yeah, I haven't seen everything. Scotty Scheffler gets arrested, goes to jail, booked, released, makes his tee time, birdies on one. I mean, that's just wild stuff to just say out loud. But it's a story we'll continue to follow. He is playing now, so we will, follow it there directly. Tommy, so K-State gets their guy yesterday, essentially in Achor. Now, he played at Samford, but that's going to be familiar to a lot of people. He was one of the top transfer guys out there. I don't know where exactly he landed in a lot of the rankings, but it was up there. And I'm a little surprised. Like I go to, 24/7 right now, and their class coming in is still ranked just 40th overall. It's top 20 now in transfers. But Achor is a guy who averaged 16 and 6, but we recognize him the most because he was playing in the game that, KU struggled with in the opener of the NCAA tournament. He scored 23 points in that game, 8 rebounds. He is a good 3-point shooter, and he's got size. He's exactly what K-State needs. And he's one of the top guys, and he comes into this class that I think is really interesting. And I think there's still a decent possibility Kaluma returns. We talked to Tim Fitzgerald about this yesterday, Tommy. To me, this feels like by far now the best group, the best collection of talent, again, going into a season that we've seen for Jerome Tang. Now, in his first year, obviously, things worked out really well with a couple of the players. But at this point of a season going in, K-State's got some juice, man. I really think they're not going to be nearly as deep as KU, not even close. But as far as a starting five or a rotation, I think they've got a chance to hang with just about anybody in the league. At least be tournament good for sure. But this is a group I like the way this is looking coming together quite a bit. And I was very concerned about them. I don't know, 4 weeks ago. Like, what are they going to do when Ames and Kaluma and all these? I'm like, man, they don't have anything. And now all of a sudden they just kind of settle in here and put together what I think is a really, really nice class.
Yeah, the nice thing about Achor from Samford is that, he's got a lot of length and he's explosive. He can play that kind of position where, he can create the offense, and he still has size, to be able to do those things that Jerome Tang would expect, a guy with that kind of length to be able to do. I think the only question mark I have is do they have a always reliable, or as much as possible reliable shooter from the perimeter? I think that's going to be my biggest question mark. And I think, and I don't exactly know how they project Doug McDaniel, in that lineup and exactly what that role will look like for him. But again, they don't have Cam Carter coming back. It's, I think, up in the air about whether or not Arthur Kaluma will return. And obviously Tyler Perry is gone. And Day Ames is gone as well. So a lot of scoring threats that are not going to be part of the team next season. And so can they get production from the guys they brought in? Absolutely they can. I just don't know at what level yet. I don't think anybody really quite knows that. I think you can project out the newcomers in, a pretty solid way. And I think that getting this addition yesterday definitely adds to their size. There's no doubt about that. And that's great, and a piece that they absolutely needed. I'm just wondering exactly where the production will come from and how that distribution will play out game to game.
I think this will be one of the better 3-point shooting teams in the conference now, which is wild to think about. So Achor is a good 3-point shooter, but he only takes like 2 a game, right? So you're not thinking of him that way. It's in his arsenal, but you're thinking of Brendan Housen that way. He shot almost 40% on 5 threes essentially a game.
Is Housen a starter? Like, will he be?
I don't know, but he's an elite level shooter. You got to just trust me on that a little bit, based on what I've been told, not just from where he played high school, but other people in the basketball world that know him, that have been around him, which are some crazy connections, by the way, that I've kind of learned. He is thought of as just an elite level shooter. Doug McDaniel, Tommy, took 6 threes a game and shot 37%. And then Max Jones, who they pulled in for Fullerton, shot 38.5% on 5 threes a game. They have brought in 3 guys in Housen, McDaniel, and Jones, who all are right around 40% on a pretty high volume. Like, that's something they haven't had. It's been kind of, one guy or whatever. They have as much outside shooting now, I think, as anybody does, right? Like, these are all guys that can shoot. Now, how does that fit together? You still need a creator. You still need these other things. But what Achor does is give them a little juice athletically that they might not have through what else they've brought in. And if Kaluma comes back, you certainly get that athleticism back. And so you have this nice mix. If Doug McDaniel can just play the point, and we know K-State relies on that position a lot, Jerome Tang does. I don't know if that's by design for him or if that's by design on the players he's had. But if Doug McDaniel can run the point effectively, you've brought in 2 other really high-level shooters, and maybe that's all they do. I don't know. But you've also then supplemented it now with a guy like Achor, who gives you that juice, right? Gasson's coming back, a true center. Do you need one? Probably debatable, but he gives you one. If Kaluma comes back, they now not only have the athletic, creative juices, not just necessarily as shooters, but they have 3 dudes that can flat shoot. And this is a really interesting mix of players. That's what I mean. Like, yeah, it might be considered the, 40th overall class, and they've got some talented freshmen coming in. But I think the collection and the versatility here would appear to be that's what I really like. Like, I don't know how it ranks in and all that stuff, but the mix seems really good to me. Like, it seems like a good mix that checks all the boxes they need to check. That's what I like about it.
Do you think that changes at all? And I'm sure it would for the better if Arthur Kaluma does, in fact, decide to return to Kansas State. Or, and that's kind of been my question throughout this entire process. I know they have, an opening for him, like that roster spot is available, the way it sounds from Fitzgerald. But I wonder, like, how does Jerome Tang game plan this? Does he game plan under the assumption that Kaluma is not returning? Does he game plan with the thought of, okay, like we may have him back, so that production will be in the lineup? I just, that's my only.
Well, look, as we're talking about this, Bill Self has the same now problem, not a problem, but I don't know what the right word is. The same situation essentially with Johnny Furphy. I think there's a much greater chance Arthur Kaluma returns to college basketball. But remember, he's also in the portal. Now, that could be just him keeping his options open. I don't know. Furphy is not in the portal. So if Furphy comes back, he's coming back to KU, right? And
Furphy's not coming back.
Yesterday, did you see his comments yesterday? I think it was with Katz. He doesn't know. What did he say, 50-50?
Yeah, I think it's going to obviously come down to the, responses that he gets going through this pre-draft process. I don't think that, he, to me, and I don't want to turn this into a Johnny Furphy conversation, but it seems to me that if he doesn't project out, into the NBA draft as high as he wants to go, there's got to be another option for him that would probably be better than him returning to college basketball. And I'm just thinking from an NIL perspective, because he's not eligible for that. So I don't exactly know what that is. I have a hard time thinking that he'll be in a Jayhawks uniform next season, even if he doesn't go through the draft.
But I'm saying Bill Self has to consider the same things with him that I think a lot of coaches do, I guess is my point. I think that's just normal. The Shockers have had to do that in recent years. I think it's just part of it. And I think the thing is that they're having, as long as if the relationship's soured, it doesn't really matter, right? They're probably moving on anyway. But if it's not soured, which is what we assume the case is in these two specific situations, there are a lot of conversations, I would imagine, happening with the coaches and these players. Like, how's it going? What are we thinking? Let's just get an update. Here's what we got to do. And I think everybody probably understands that, and it's okay. Kaluma being back on the team is really interesting. It would make K-State better. There's no question about that. But he probably doesn't have the same role next year he had last year. To me, they have a lot more options now than they did a year ago. Cam Carter's production goes out the door, Tyler Perry's. So maybe Kaluma can stay the same, the same kind of role he had a year ago. But I don't know, man. I don't think so. And that's not a bad thing either. Like, that's when it comes up to Kaluma. Like, okay, we look like we're going to be way better next year than we were a year ago. Come back and be a part of that. And UConn shows us, like, players are still very interested in doing that, right? Like, there is still very much guys buying into team and all that kind of stuff. I don't know what the relationship. I've never talked to Arthur Kaluma. I'm not sure, but I don't have any indication that it's not good. So, if he comes back to this mix, you're looking at 4 with Gasson, 5 with Kaluma gives you a 6-man. I know everybody really likes David Castillo, who is the very talented freshman coming in who played at Sunrise this last year. He gives you probably something this year that gives you 7. I don't know anything about this junior college player that's coming in, Chimobi, but I think when you bring in junior college players, you anticipate some immediate production. So that gives you 7, 8. Like, you're looking at it. That's it. Like, we're there sort of with K-State now. And as you just sort of try to look ahead at things, I mean, certainly you're going to put Kansas ahead. Kansas is going to be the top team in the country coming into the season. I think you probably put Arizona. I think you can bake in Baylor still at this point. And then I think K-State's going to slot in somewhere right after that as far as preseason expectations, like 4, 5, 6, somewhere like that, where they would safely be if that's where they finished in the NCAA tournament. Like, from what we know, and I haven't followed all the portal stuff. Obviously, it's impossible to do that. But I don't think anybody else is, like, going ballistic enough that you're looking at it. I mean, we can look at the top portal. So Baylor right now has the 4th best overall class rankings. And I believe this is a combination of transfers and incoming freshmen. Baylor's 4, Arizona's 5. This is according to 24/7. They've got Kansas 8, which shouldn't surprise anybody. Remember, Kansas has a lot returning. Texas at 10. So that's 5 if you're just looking at the class. And then you get Texas isn't in the Big 12 anymore. Shame on me. So really, it's still just 4. Cincinnati is ahead of them. TCU's ahead of them. West Virginia's ahead of them, but they're all kind of bunched right there together. So, look, I think that they're going to be very much in the mix. I just for whatever reason, this group seems like it's going to be a collective good fit. I think these pieces all make sense together, and maybe that's what it is for me. Like, they all seem like they're going to fit really well together, and I'm optimistic. I think we're going to have a good team on our hands here, which is fun because we know KU is going to be really good. Like, that much we know. And now it's starting to look like, to me, K-State's going to be pretty good too.
Yeah, I do think that what's been great about the way Jerome Tang has approached this is, and I know you mentioned it a few minutes ago, it wasn't that long ago that I think there were some legitimate concerns about just a slow movement in the portal and how, there were a handful of top targets in the portal that K-State, they were going after and they didn't land. And it started to, I think, snowball a little bit. Then you add in Day Ames transferring out. You've got a few other guys that are, that have left the program. And you start to think, man, other than Doug McDaniel, who committed early, and David Gasson announcing he was returning, who do they have? And, of course, David Castillo and, all of that. But I do think that it's been really nice to see the way that Jerome Tang has attacked in the last week or so, being able to make sure that, there are still really quality pieces from other programs that have hit the portal that they can then attract and bring into Manhattan. So, is it an ideal roster for Jerome Tang? No, because we know that the top targets that he wanted, he didn't get for the most part. But I do think that there are some really nice pieces. I'm just curious to see exactly what kind of roles those players will have coming into next season.
Yeah, it's hard to project it, but it does seem to me like it will fit. You've got some shooters, you've got some athleticism, you've got your point guard, like you have the mix and you have the things there, and then it's kind of a roles thing, but I think they'll get a little depth there too. This is all really interesting as we're just sort of looking at this, and I'm kind of Wichita State, man, like just not on the radar at all.
Yeah.
And I really, really hope that the players that they
did get the St. Peter's guy earlier last week or earlier this week.
Like it's not that they haven't gotten players. They've gotten players and they also seem to be decent fits, but it's going to have to translate on the floor. Like it just has to this year. And so it's hard. We know a little more about some of these players, and that's not that surprising, but as I'm looking at these rankings and everything else, to not see the Shockers up there it's concerning. Like I'm nervous about it as much as anything. Sure. Like we certainly want it to work. And again, the transfer portal, most of the time, we don't know the players. Interestingly enough, about K-State's incoming class, we kind of do know a lot about 3 of the players, right? Or, Achor we saw because we saw Samford play. Hausen, I know a little more. People probably don't know too much about him. And then Doug McDaniel, I think most people know about. So it's a class we kind of have some familiarity with, which is interesting. 869-1240. We are rocking and rolling here on a Friday weekending edition of the show. Shocker Baseball on KFH, available for free on the Odyssey app as well. You can tune in tonight at 5:45 for Shockers at Memphis. Download the Odyssey app. Search for KFH as well. We're coming right back. More Sports Daily as we wrap up hour number 1 right after this.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
Portion of the program brought to you by Crestview Country Club. It'll be interesting chatter there around the club today, I'm sure, among all the golf enthusiasts, as everybody's taking in Scotty Scheffler's interesting morning.
Hey, I can tell you right now what happened this morning. That would not happen over at Crestview during the Wichita Open. I can't see the same scenario taking place there
with the golfers. Yeah.
I mean, because, and hey, shout out to the Wichita Open and Crestview staff. Like they do a great job putting that tournament on. It's usually seamless, flawless, all of that. So, rest assured, if you end up going out to the Wichita Open in a few weeks, a situation like what happened today with Scotty Scheffler, I'm guessing will not happen out there.
I cannot get over the fact of how this started in the first place. Like, what a strange sequence of emotional things for like lots of different emotions, like the comedy now, but the tragedy to begin with, like is a wild sequence that I can't quite wrap my head around. Tommy and I last night get out to we got out our we flashed back to I don't know, probably 20 years ago. Went to Cake at Wave. They were really good.
It was fun. That was a great show.
So we told you yesterday, I was like, this is either going to be like, we're going to be the only people there or it'll be packed. And it was packed. Like we got there and we got there, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes after the doors open. And I'm not kidding. Like the line was 2 blocks long to get like wrapped around 2 blocks long. And I'm like, okay, here we go. This is going to be really good. And it was a very interesting mix and collection of people that made me so happy because it was like flashing back to different stages of my life, right? And living in the current stage of my life. You had a lot of like dads there, some with their kids, a lot of just very like, at the family centric point of their lives. You had like all the people that reminded me of going to college at like a, in an art sort of fielded way. Like we were both college radio DJs. Like that crew was there very much. Probably picked up a little bit of a contact high. Like everything that was have happened like back in those days. Like it was this really cool clash. And there are probably people out there that either love Cake or don't know who they are. And it was just right. Like it was like all of these people felt like me. Like it was a really strange collection of people that felt like me, because that is a strange audience, a wide ranging audience of a band like that anyway. And you know, they're getting up there. I think they're pushing 60 and they rocked it. They were really good.
You know what I really appreciated about that show is that first off, there were no openers. And I know you're usually a fan of opening
I'm an
acts.
opener guy. Yeah, I'm an opener guy.
You know, if I'm going to go to a show, like I'm there to see the headliner, there were no openers. Like it was literally the show started and it was Cake. They played for 45 minutes or so, took an intermission, little break. You know, I go to the bathroom, go get another drink, hang out. Then they came back out and they played for another 45 minutes to an hour. And I mean, we were out of there by a little bit after 10, you know, and I'm thinking to myself, like, this is nice, you know, and their music, I mean, they're kind of laid back, you know, a little bit, their music is, and they're, like you said, getting up there in age a little bit. So it wasn't hard rocking. It was more just kind of like, hey, let's groove a little bit.
Grooving.
And, you know, I got home in a decent hour, had a decent night's sleep, and, you know, here we are. So
today or
I appreciated that. That's the kind of concert that at my age now that I want to go to.
Yeah, I still have room for the rowdier concerts, but not on a Thursday night, you know, not on a school night, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, I agree. That was just about right. And it was cool. So good job, Cake. I'm glad I saw them, man. It's so funny that they're playing here. I think I don't remember where I was. I was at like a restaurant or something, and The Distance, which is their most popular, most famous song, played. And I was just like, holy crap, Cake. I haven't thought about them forever. And I got so excited that song was just playing as background music at some place. And then pretty soon after that, it's like, oh, they're playing in Wichita. What? And so it was just right. Good job to them. Shout out to Cake for putting on a good show. We appreciate them stopping through Wichita. And I don't know what that tour looks like. I just could not believe how many people were there. So maybe there's like a regional thing going on where they don't have a lot of stops. And so it was a destination for a lot of people. I've only been to that venue a couple of times. That was the most crowded for sure I've ever seen Wave. But it was good. I'm glad they came through. It's such a cool spot too. That train riding through in the middle of the middle of a show, and perfect weather for it too, which was
all the shipping containers, you know, to kind of, you know, get you in that. I mean, it's a really unique and really awesome venue. And you know, I've been here my entire life, growing up, high school, college, you know, right out of college. There wasn't a venue like that in Wichita. I mean, like you could go to the Cotillion, you could go to the Orpheum. Like they all have really great history and all of that, but there wasn't an outdoor venue like what Wave is. And it's really what Wichita needed.
So I'm just looking, this was the first stop on their tour, which is interesting. And it goes through September. The only other thing relatively close is they're going to play the Zoo Amphitheater in Oklahoma City. I don't know anything about that. Otherwise, they're like in California on the East Coast. So, yeah, this was really probably a whole lot of people's only chance. I'll bet you there were a ton of out-of-towners there last night. And that makes more sense as I look that up. And, yes, speaking of the venue, one thing I tell people all the time about moving here, so I miss dearly small bar music. Now, I don't know that I'm even as wired for that as I was when I lived in Texas a decade ago. But, you know, that was the music scene. You go to a small bar or the dance hall. So when we came to Wichita, I was like, man, we don't have that. But what Wichita has that I think is awesome, you have a theater in the Orpheum. That's one of my favorite places in the world to see music. Yeah. The Wave, you've got this cool little outdoor spot. You've got the big arena to bring in the big acts. And then you have the dance hall with the Cotillion, which matters to me because I like that kind of environment. Like, and then you got Hartman up the road, which brings, you know, a sort of different, all of these things. Like the diversity of venue here brings in all kinds of daggum music that is so awesome. So I've readjusted myself. And now it's like, you can pretty much catch a show of interest every week in the right time of year, if you want to. Like we were looking at it last night, and you're like, God, these bands coming through. Like there's a lot of stuff to get to out here this year. So it was fun. We appreciated being there. Appreciated everybody that was there, and appreciated the environment with a little bit of a flashback to a different time in our lives. It was a lot of fun. Let's come into hour number 2. We want to go look at the win totals in the NFL. Schedules are out. Way too early for this stuff, but we're going to do it anyway. I will have your opportunity to win some prizes in the second hour, HGOT and coffee coming for you. Lots of good stuff. Royals get ready for a big weekend series. It's all available for us, and we'll keep up with the PGA Championship and the Scotty Scheffler thing, how he's playing right now as we make our way into hour number 2. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albracht and Tommy Castor.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Hour number 2 of Sports Daily. Having a good time this morning, covering one of the stranger stories you'll see regarding the PGA Championship. If you missed it, if you're just tuning in, Scottie Scheffler was arrested this morning, taken to jail, booked into jail, released, made his tee time, and is 1 under through 3. Now going into his 4th hole. We'll recap exactly what happened there at some point. If you've missed the news, it was a traffic situation. Somebody was hit and killed as a pedestrian. It was really, really sad. And then this traffic situation caused confusion that led to Scottie Scheffler's arrest. And it's been a wild morning if you're just kind of catching up a little bit. So that's out there. We'll follow it. We'll give you the local golfer interest. Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor here. Jad Chambers driving the ship. And man in the IHOP hotline, which is brought to you by IHOP. You can visit IHOP and try the new If movie-inspired menu flavors like the magnificent French toast sandwich. That's 869-1240. You can leave us your comments on our video stream. So fun to have so many different ways to consume the show here. You can, of course, listen to us, as always, on KFH. You can take us with you audibly on the Odyssey app or at kfhradio.com on the live stream, or you can watch us now, too. And we're trying to grow that. We're trying to make that a fun and different way to consume the show for people. And it is available for you on Facebook, on YouTube, and on X. Share that out if you see it. Let your friends know. You can leave comments on any of those. The cool thing about what we can do, we can see, no matter which of those platforms you leave your comments on, we can see those. And so we can get to those right on the air. You can also just reach out to us directly on social media as well. Just a quick update on that PGA Championship, Tommy. So you've got Scheffler, 1 under through 3. He's on 4 now. Schauffele was the story of yesterday. So of local interest here, Adam Hadwin, who, of course, is now a Wichita resident, had a really nice opening round, 3 under. He doesn't tee off until later today, but he's going to be very much in the mix. And Gary Woodland, who has teed off this morning, is still at even par through 5. That's what he shot yesterday. So he's, we're trying to see him get, under that cut line and then maybe make some noise later. But, those are the 2 guys of local interest. They're both in pretty good shape. And then, of course, we have our eye on, pretty star-studded top. You've got Rory McIlroy in the mix. Xander Schauffele had the historic day yesterday. The guy that I, for whatever reason, I can't even explain, root for, probably more than any of the other big names. Colin Morikawa's in the mix again, Tommy. This looks like it's going to be a good PGA Championship, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the names at the top of the leaderboard are, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting today through the weekend, moving day, final round, all of that, because you've got some big names there. You brought up Adam Hadwin. He made headlines last summer because he got tackled by a security guard who mistook him as a fan running onto the green. I wonder how he feels today. I wonder if he and Scottie are like talking, hey, I've been there. I didn't get arrested. I'm not charged with anything, but I've been there. Maybe you and I should have a conversation about what to expect over the days and weeks to come. But no, you're right. Hadwin had a really good opening round, 3 under. And he's been playing really good golf so far. So yeah, definitely a couple of local guys that are in the mix.
Man. Hadwin's having a good year. Zeb, our buddy, chimes in on our YouTube stream and says his golf game warrants me to be arrested too. Maybe he's like Scottie. Yeah, I guess now, right? Like most of us, now we have something in common with Scottie Scheffler in which we're capable of being arrested, right? Of doing something stupid. Not that he did anything stupid, but just being arrested in general. That's a good one. Appreciate that, Zeb. But you can leave those comments. So something we want to do here in this second hour, you'll get a chance to win some HTO. Tea and coffee in a little bit, but these win totals, Tommy, we like to bet a little bit. There's a lot of golf to bet. One of these times we need to get together and just bet golf, live bet golf, because that yesterday, as I was seeing that, and of course now ESPN bets tied to ESPN. So you're seeing the tournament and they're putting up like live odds for things to happen. Birdie, par, make the green in regulation, hit the fairway. And I'm like, this would be so fun. Yeah. This would be so much fun. I have not done that with golf, but I want to. That's where I'm in fact, they just pulled it up. That's what I'm looking at right now. It looks really cool. But win totals in the NFL. Always one of the most popular things to bet. And really, it's a pretty fun exercise just to see expectations for teams. And so it's way too early for this. It really is. But we're going to do it anyway. We're going to look at some of these across the league and what stands out to us as an over or an under. The Chiefs are at 11.5. To me, that is one of the more obvious over bets, quite frankly. They basically got there a year ago, right at it, and remember how many things went poorly for them. So you kind of like that. I like the 11.5. I'm not scared of the 11.5. No team is higher than 11.5. The Chiefs, the Ravens, the 49ers all sit at that number. That one to me seems pretty obvious. What else is catching your attention, Tommy?
And going back to what you had just mentioned, I have a hard time thinking when it comes to Kansas City that as many things will go wrong this season that went wrong a season ago, and they still got to 11 wins. Well, I'm not talking about like off the field things. I'm talking about in game when the season begins, game by game. There were a lot of different things in the moment in games that went wrong that I don't think will happen. I'd be hard pressed to believe that would go wrong this season. I don't think we'll see a duplicate of that this year. So knowing that, I mean, I'm comfortable betting the over on their win total. Yeah, there's been quite a few off the field issues that have happened. I mean, just recently, whether it's Rashee Rice or Harrison Butker, Xavier Worthy. I don't know if you saw that his car got stolen yesterday outside his apartment complex. Like, there are different things that are happening with Kansas City right now that are never fun in the offseason. But I have a hard time thinking that those issues will happen like we saw last year in game that really caused them to stumble a bit, but they still got to 11 wins. I don't think that'll happen this year.
Yeah, look, so they're a good one. I look at the other bets around the league and in the totals, and one that stands out that I really like is Minnesota over, and it looks like it is as juiced as anything. So I'm not the only one that thinks this, which is a little frightening. Minnesota's over under is at 6.5. And so I know that Kirk Cousins is gone. That team is very talented. And whether it's Darnold or JJ McCarthy, I think they can get over that total. I think they'll get over 6.5 wins. I think they're probably going to make the playoffs. And I think of all the rookies, if you were going to like just drop one into a spot of established things, McCarthy is going to be in the best position of all the rookies to win games this year. We'll get to Caleb Williams in a second because I think their number is interesting too. But I like that one a lot. If I'm looking at the under, Atlanta's at 9.5. I know they won 7 games last year, and I know they have Kirk Cousins now, but they have Kirk Cousins coming off of a pretty serious injury. I kind of like under 9.5 for Atlanta. 9 wins, in that division there have been a lot of teams right in that mix. With the Penix thing now, like I could see Atlanta going under. That's another one that has sort of grabbed my attention.
I've got a few.
Under the Texans 9.5. I know
Really?
nobody wants to hear that. I know in the
I'm going to
division's not
say
very good.
over on Houston. That's one of my favorites is Houston over their win total.
So sort of opposite of the Chiefs for me with them. Everything went right for them last year, right? Like everything went right, and they won 10 games. I think the Jaguars will be better. I think the Colts will have Richardson and be better. I think the Texans have room to come down to earth a little bit. It was perfect for them last year. And that's a big number. And you can get plus money on that under, by the way. That's one there. And then there was one more I saw that Tampa Bay's over. So Tampa's at 7.5. Tampa with Baker Mayfield has been consistent, right? They won 9 games a year ago. Like I like Tampa over 7.5. I'm not sure Tampa's not a better team than Atlanta anyway. So that's another one that stuck out to me.
So a couple that I really like here. I like Buffalo's under at 10.5. Man, it wouldn't surprise me if Josh Allen and the Bills win 9 or 10 games, but I don't think they're winning 11 or more. They don't have any receivers. They, and I know I guess they signed Marquez Valdes-Scantling the other day. Okay, cool. Good for you. And then they made a couple of other small additions, but I think that offense will be worse than last year. Josh Allen is great, but I think they'll be worse than last year. So I like the Buffalo under 10.5. Also with the Broncos, their over-under is 5.5. I like the under for the Broncos because they don't have a quarterback. Like, who are you throwing out there, Sean Payton? Is it going to be Bo Nix? What is it going to be? Zach Wilson? What are you doing?
No,
I just don't. I don't think, and I know they've got some talent in other places, but I think it's going to be a really difficult year for Denver. I like the under at 5.5. Those are kind of my two favorites that I'm looking at.
I think Bo Nix and Caleb Williams will be the two quarterbacks of the rookies that start right away. Here's one for you, the Jets. And I mentioned them yesterday. So the Jets right now are at 9.5. Their schedule is not as tough, I don't think, as it was a year ago. But if I'm looking at their schedule, I'm almost looking at it this year as like I see 10 losable games for them on the schedule right now. And I don't think they'll lose 10 necessarily, but I see 10 losable games. With a 9.5 win total, you've got to be 10-7, right? So to me, that's a pretty big margin of error there. I would attack that under. And I know that was the popular bet last year, was to go under. And then, of course, it would have hit because of the Rodgers injury. But I think because the schedule is easier this year, that number's been inflated. We haven't seen Aaron Rodgers play football in a long time. That's still a really good division. And the bad team in that division just got a whole lot more dynamic at quarterback. So whether you think the Patriots are going to be good or bad, they got more dynamic at quarterback. I think the Jets are ripe to go under that total. Do we really see the Jets as a 10-win team next year? 10-7. And I hope they are, because I root for Breece Hall a great deal. So I hope that they are. But man, that's high.
I honestly don't have a clue. And so I am telling anybody I know, like, stay away from doing anything with the Jets. You have no idea. I'm not going to touch, honestly, anything regarding the New York Jets, because it's just a crapshoot entirely, right? We don't know how effective Aaron Rodgers will be. And even if he is effective, we've never seen him play with this team outside of 4 snaps in the very first game of the season. I've got no clue how they're going to pan out. And so I'm not even going to touch any kind of future bet on the New York Jets, just because I don't have any idea.
That's the beauty of them as a team and the compelling nature of them as a team. Their range of outcomes is tremendous, larger probably than any team in football, but it's tremendous. All the same things are true that were a year ago. And in fact, they're probably better than they were a year ago, top to bottom. Rodgers is a year older, coming off of that kind of an injury. But I think, they are getting better roster-wise. So it could go really well for the Jets. Like they could absolutely explode and win that division, and I don't think it would surprise any of us. Garrett Wilson's one of the top young players in the game at wide receiver. Breece Hall is maybe the top young running back in the game at running back. Rodgers is there. They've made the line a little bit better. The defense has always been good there under Robert Saleh. It could go really well. Or Aaron Rodgers is old, not good anymore, and they win another 5 games. Like it's like, yeah, it's all out there for them. It's pretty wild. I think they probably, across football, if we're being honest, have the widest range of the way this year could go.
How do you feel about the Bears over under? It's at 8.5.
They're another good one. Yeah.
Because that could be another one that could have a pretty wide range of,
Tommy,
results.
They won
we
7.
We don't know.
They won 7 games a year ago. Now, what's deceptive about that to me, and I would take the under, by the way, is you're like, okay, man, they won 7 games and they got Caleb Williams. That one is juiced, right? The Bears over is way juiced. It's at minus 150. I'd take the under. I would take the under at plus 120 because I've got it at plus 140 where I'm looking right now. Like there's even better odds on the under. So most of the time when we see this, right, really good. The Vikings are a great example. The Vikings were really good last year. They bring in a rookie quarterback. One of the reasons I love their over is because I'm like, that's a really good team. Almost on the flip side of that, the Bears won 7 games a year ago, and now they add these receivers and bring in Caleb Williams. Okay. However, they had Justin Fields was their quarterback last year. It's not like they had some scrub quarterback out there that led them to 7 wins. Justin Fields is pretty good, right? And so what is in year 1 of Caleb Williams the difference between Fields and Williams? That's the thing. Is Williams able to make them 2 wins better, which is what it would take? And Keenan Allen is there too now. I get it. And they, went out and added Rome Odunze. I think, yes, the chance of that, it's there, sure. But if I think the Vikings are going to be good again, and if we think the Packers are going to be good again, and if you think the Lions are going to be good again, you've got to bake all that stuff in. Caleb Williams could have a really nice rookie year. The Bears could be very clearly making strides in the right direction, and they don't win 9 games. I'm taking that under. Because I think the difference between what Fields was last year and Williams in year 1, you're expecting too much out of Williams if you think he's already walking in the door 2 games better than Justin Fields at quarterback. I just think that's too much, even with the added weapons there. Because I don't know that those added weapons would have helped Fields' game a tremendous amount anyway. Like, I just don't – I think that's too much expectation for them.
But I'm telling you right now, if they didn't expect Caleb Williams to deliver 2 or more wins over Justin Fields, they would have never moved on from Justin Fields and drafted Caleb Williams.
No,
the expectations are what they are because they made the move that they made.
I agree with that. But when we're trying to bet it and look at it in reality and take all the factors in, the most important factors are that they play in one of, if not the best divisions in football next year, I would say, right? So that has to be considered. The Lions, we think, will be better. The Packers, we think, will be better. The Vikings are the great unknown in this. But if I'm telling you that I like the Vikings over because I think they have the team that is most ready for a rookie quarterback to come in and succeed, then that means the Bears are not that. And so it can still, like, Williams can still be significantly better than Justin Fields was, but they don't win 2 more games than they did a year ago. I think that absolutely could happen. 9 wins. You're talking about probably a playoff team at that point. Are we really ready to say the Bears are a playoff team? I'm not sure about that.
It's the difference between expectation and reality.
But if I'm looking at bets, Tommy, what would you rather have? The Bears at 8.5 or the Vikings at 6.5? You know what I mean? Both with the rookie quarterbacks coming in. Like, I'm taking the Vikings at 6.5 all day long. The Vikings defense should be really good again next year, getting better. I love the opportunity with the Vikings. And if I'm telling you that I like that, then it's almost too difficult to do both because you also think that the Packers and Lions are going to be good. And by the way, this is an interesting thing too in that division, because if you do think Chicago is going to be better, and if you do think Minnesota is at least going to be able to tread water and be the same, which I think is possible, then, okay, maybe we go and look at Detroit and Green Bay. Green Bay's at 9.5. Are they ripe to go under that, right? Detroit is going to be one of the top teams this year. Detroit's got to get to 11 wins now in this really good division. I wouldn't take either one of those overs. For the same reason I'm scared of Chicago's over, is because I just think that division is so good and competitive. I think there's a lot of losses coming for these teams within the division. And I think if you're going to reach 12 wins or 10 or 11 wins, you got to be able to dominate your division. And I just don't know that any team is going to be capable of doing that in the NFC North.
Yeah, I actually forgot about another team that I love this bet, and I know like it's juiced up a little bit, but I really, really like the Rams over. It's 8.5. In that division, that was
one of my favorites last year. Yeah.
In that division, you're basically contending with the 49ers. Like that's basically the competition in that division. I think the Seahawks will probably, stay average at best. I don't think that they're going to be a playoff team this year. And then the Cardinals, I don't think are going to be very good. So, you really have that to contend with. And people forget, I think that they forget a little bit about the combination of Sean McVay and Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp. And I know Kupp is another year older and Stafford is another year older. Sean McVay continues to be one of the best coaches in the NFL at 8.5. I mean, do we really think that the Rams cannot go 9-8 or better this season? I think they absolutely can in that division. That's one of my favorite over picks in the entire NFL is the Rams.
How much do you
over
think Aaron
8.5.
Donald? Aaron Donald would be a good case study on that because he's gone now. Like, how much will that impact them on the other side?
It'll be an impact. It'll be an impact for sure.
I typically think the Rams are underrated. I also typically think that the Steelers are underrated. The Steelers over at 8.5. Basically, are the Steelers going to continue the Mike Tomlin trend and finish above 500? Well, I think they got better. So that's another one I think that you'll look at. It's hard to go under on any of these. Like it's because we always want to be optimistic. I just, if you get up into, and I would take Baltimore's under. Quite frankly, that's a juiced one, by the way.
Would you take the Cowboys under? Would you? I mean, they're 10.5.
Absolutely, yes, under. That's one of the ones that stood out to me, and I was just going to say because I think that division will be better, and so like if I'm getting up into those double-digit overs, I've got to have a really good team in a bad division for me to get comfortable. That's why I like the Chiefs so much. I have a hard time visualizing the Chiefs losing any division games this year. So just on your division schedule, I can find 6 wins for the Chiefs, right? So then of the other 11 games, can you find 6 more? Are they really going to go 5-6 in those 11 games, which is what it's going to take if I think they're going to win all their divisional games? No, I don't think they're going 5-6 out of the division. Yeah. So then I love their over. But for Baltimore is going to play in the same division as Cleveland, as Pittsburgh, and as Cincinnati.
Right.
They're going to lose divisional games. I can't take them over 11.5. Cowboys, they play with the Eagles. I mean, the Cowboys and the Eagles both aren't winning 11 games this year. So which one is more likely to go under? I would say the Cowboys are far more likely to go under than the Eagles are. So, yeah, that's another under. So that's sort of on the big, I think if you go to the very top, that's where the most opportunity is because it's hard to get those win totals if you play in good divisions. I can't wait for it, man. I can't wait for it. Quick update on Scotty Scheffler and the tournament. He is now through 4. He parred, so still just 1 under. Gary Woodland bogeyed hole 6, so he is now 1 over. And Xander Schauffele hasn't teed off yet. So we'll continue to watch that PGA Championship with some very odd circumstances around it today with Scotty Scheffler's arrest. I'm not going to give you any details on that right now. If you're just tuning in, Scotty Scheffler was arrested this morning, booked into jail, got released and made his tee time. Not going to give you any circumstances. So if you're new to that story, chew on that and how weird that sounds. Let's give away some HTO on the way out. Jad will take care of this for us. We'll give away a free iced tea, more than 25 flavors to choose from, including the all-new limited time Strawberry Passion. Those are good for you on Wichita's east or west side location or in Derby. And then some free reign coffee, iced hot, lots of different coffee offerings. You can get your hands on one of those too. That's in Derby or at the East Wichita location. Good luck, everybody. We'll come back. More Sports Daily coming right at you.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
who was the one that was a part of it? Like, who was the one that was arrested? That's what makes it more shocking than anything else, is that we're talking about Scotty Scheffler, who has been criticized in the past for being boring.
Andy Ogletree or anything.
Right. We're not talking, I mean, like, this isn't John Daly where everybody's like, oh, okay, it's John Daly, you know. It's not, you know, even Dustin Johnson, like some of the bad boys that go, this is the most white bread, like boring.
What made this so crazy before we knew the circumstances, when you sent that to me, Tommy, I was like, wait a minute. Because I didn't have any information other than you saying Scotty Scheffler was arrested overnight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, Scheffler like went out and got hammered?
Right.
On a night that he's got to come play? I'm like, that doesn't really, like, wow, I can't. And then I'm like, oh no, wait a minute. Like, this was just recently happened. And then I started to read it and I'm like, well, what in the world? Like, this is not, I did just such a strange story. Anyway, he just missed a birdie putt, I believe. So he is still 1 under, and chasing Xander Schauffele as everybody else is. By the way, Mark Hubbard, who I don't know who that is, Tommy, but he fired a good opening round. He's now 2 under through 3 holes. He's at 8 under. So this is going to be a tournament, I think, that scores, and we'll see how it does. We've got our eye on Adam Hadwin, who now is a Wichita resident, who is 3 under and doesn't tee off till much later. And then Gary Woodland, we always have our eye on, who's 1 over today and just trying to make the cut line, which projects out right now. You know, it's too early to tell that because not enough people have teed off. So I guess we can't really. I mean, right now that is the cut line, but that cut line is going to move, I think, after guys are teeing off quite a bit. But
yeah.
Hey, I'm in on a major. They got my attention now.
I mean, yeah, you're not going to have any more like large drama. And here's the other thing too, that I was thinking about earlier. You've got the 4 majors every year, and I will be locked into all 4 of them. That being said, though, in my opinion, usually the least interesting one is the PGA Championship. It's this one for me, typically. Like, the Masters has all the pageantry and the tradition and all of that. The British Open is that different style of golf, and they're all overseas, and like, it's usually weather's terrible, and like, that's part of it. The US Open is always really difficult, and so you're watching golfers like struggle. For me, out of the 4, the PGA has always been the most difficult one to lock into. I really didn't start locking into it, honestly, until a couple of years ago when the tournament was in Tulsa and I went to the final round.
Right.
But then from then on, like, I'm watching it, and like, this, I mean, this gives like more attention to probably what is usually the least entertaining out of the 4 majors.
Yeah. I mean, I like them all. I like them all. I don't have a problem. But this is the least headline grabbing one for sure.
Yeah.
But I think they're all uniquely interesting. I don't know. I think as I play golf more, I pay more attention to these things. Scotty Scheffler is becoming a must-see attraction. I think the run that he has been on, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think it is the closest to Tiger that we've had since Tiger. I think, right?
Yeah.
I know Rory
I would agree with that.
Rory McIlroy became, you know, the closest to Tiger as far as like people having interest in him. Yeah. But he wasn't winning like this.
Rory went on a run. Jordan Spieth went on a run.
He was the guy we thought was going to basically do what Scheffler's doing now.
Brooks Koepka went on a run, and that was kind of a major run with US Opens and things like that, PGA Championships. But I'm not sure that there's really, like, from a week-to-week basis, a player playing.
None of those guys felt insurmountable at any point. Right now, and Scheffler's not there the way Tiger Woods was, but I think he's closer to that insurmountable feeling than we've had. Like, it just doesn't feel like anybody's ever going to beat him. And so that's pretty good. And I would venture to guess that if he is able to do something special here, you're going to see the numbers as far as like viewership and those things start to rise for these majors again and start to rise for golf in general, because now you've got that dude out there who's consistently getting it done that people will want to see if he can keep getting it done. That was, Tiger was more appealing for other reasons that Scottie Scheffler just flat will never be able to be, right? Like he's just a normal looking white dude up there that looks like every other golfer on tour. Tiger looked different, felt different, was different. Will never replicate any of that for the impact he had on the game that was so wide reaching and interesting and cool. But as far as just that killer instinct, can't beat this guy, I think it could happen for Scheffler because, and again, you follow this much closer than I do, Tommy. What seems like is so great about him and his game is that it's unflappable, right? I don't know if he's the most gifted driver, putter, iron. I don't know any of that. But what I can tell with him is like nothing seems to shake this dude. That's what the other part of Tiger's game that was so great was.
Well, yeah, and you go back to the Masters and what he did there on that final round on Sunday. There was quite a bit of competition around him. They all made mistakes, and Scottie did not. It wasn't that Scottie went out there and just like beat the golf course. And that's what, that's kind of a difference, I think, between Scottie and what we saw from Tiger Woods 20 years ago. Tiger was not only beating every golfer around him, Tiger was beating the golf course week after week after week. He was setting course records, and like there were very well documented tournament organizers were trying to find ways to Tiger proof a golf course. Scottie doesn't really do that quite as much. Right. It was just like he's just going to play steady and let everybody else around him make the mistakes down the stretch in clutch moments. The mental game that Scottie has to just hold everything together, that's what's going to make this so intriguing this weekend because of what just happened this morning.
It's old man golf that he plays.
Yeah. Right down the middle.
You get out there with the group of guys and the bets are flying and you've got a couple that can, outdrive and just crush everybody. You got some great, but it's the quiet old guy that is just like parring every hole, and I'm relating this now back to, to the rest of the, mortal world. And that's what Scheffler, like, it's to me, again, I don't follow it as closely as a lot of people, but that's every time I watch him, that's what it seems like. Like he just is so steady. He never screws up. And now he got arrested. Has to come out and play a tournament. Like an hour later, like literally leaves jail, changes out of the, the jumpsuit, and walks onto the tee box and fires a birdie on the first hole. He is still 1 under on the day, by the way. So we'll continue to follow that throughout the end of the show. Let's get you ready for Royals weekend when we return. A chance, we think, to sweep a series. I think they need to be sweeping this series. We'll talk about it next on Sports Daily.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
Oh man, Tommy, I guess the teaser video is out for the college football video game.
Oh my
Dude.
God, it's going to be incredible.
Dude, do I even have I'm with everybody else. I loved this game back in the day. Is this going to be available for me on, like, my kids and I have a Switch? Am I going to be able to play this on Switch?
I have no idea.
Do you even have a video game system anymore?
I do. I have an Xbox One. I played Madden for a while. I really like, if I get a chance, I like MLB The Show. I'll play that. It's mainly mainly sports games. I'll tell you, since I've had kids though, I don't know the last time I've turned it on and played, but I'm jacked up for EA college football. I really was into Madden for a long time, but I feel like Madden kind of got like monotonous and redundant. So I'm really looking forward to this.
So I'm trying to find it. Like I think a PS4, not the new one. So is your Xbox like the new one, like the newest one?
I wouldn't say the newest one.
No.
I've had it probably for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years.
I don't know that we're going to be able to play this without like buying a $600 video game console. I don't know that it's available on the things that we have. That could be a problem. Jad, do you know this? You're a gamer. I can't figure out what it's being played on.
The new Xboxes are Xbox Series either S or X, depending on if you want the really expensive one or just the expensive one. Those are the Xboxes, and of course, like you said, the newest PlayStation is PS6 or 5. So yeah,
man, we played the Switch now. I have a PS4,
right?
That we use to watch movies and stuff. Man, I can't justify that.
Sure, you
this
can.
Thing, this thing looks incredible.
And by the time that one comes out, even the Nintendo, they're already making the successor to the Switch. So
are they really? I love the Switch. We've had so much fun with that thing.
I have too, actually.
It's because I don't need like the power that these things have got anymore. Like that level of, I'm not that. I don't play. I love video games. I still like to goof around and play them at night now, but like in a much more simple form. So the Switch is good for me. Like these other ones, like I'm not an online. I don't do any of that. I had a buddy try to have me play one of the shoot 'em up games like with online people, and I died like every 4 seconds. I'm like, this isn't fun for me. I don't know. I don't want to do this.
Hey, I remember back in the day, I mean, probably, I don't know, 10 years ago, I was playing Madden and I decided like, hey, look, I've never done this. I mean, we grew up in a time when you couldn't get online and play games with other people, really. I'm like, I'm going to try to play against somebody. Yeah. I remember I had a headset, and I was playing Madden. I'm pretty sure the kid was like 10 years old, and he beat the crap out of me, and he started talking trash in my headset. I'm like, I'm done. I did it one time. I'm like, I don't want to do this.
I've never
this
put
is not
on a
fun.
Headset. I've never done that.
I did it one time. I'll never do it again.
Good God, it's going to cost me. It would cost me $450 damn to go get a PlayStation to play this game.
It's worth it.
What?
It's going to be worth it.
I'm not going to pay $500 to play this video game, which is what it'll cost, because I'm sure the game itself is like $70. Like I can't do that. Now, what I need to find out is is the PlayStation 4 Jad remotely close to like being irrelevant?
No, it's still a fairly good machine. You can still do quite a bit.
I have that.
It's actually still supported by Sony even. So yeah.
So that's the other problem.
It's still relevant. Not for long, but it's still relevant.
How is the price on a PS5 not come down? Isn't that what they opened up at like 3 years ago?
Yeah, more or less.
That's crazy. I'll never forget. And I used to love video games. Video games have been the reason I probably didn't do as well as I should have in high school and those kinds of things. I'll never forget when we got our Sega Saturn, which I still have a Sega Saturn. It's like right down there, right behind me. I love that thing. We traded in everything we had from our Sega Genesis. And I still think two of my brothers and I think we still had to pay like $300 for that thing. Largest purchase any of us. We were, broke kid. Like we didn't have any money. My parents were always like, we're not buying you video games if you want to buy it yourself. So it was literally scraping everything together. One of the great achievements of childhood was being able to bring that thing home and playing World Series baseball, home run derby, all these things. Man, those were the good old days. Now I look at it and I'm like, $500 for a dang game. But that's probably what we paid for our Sega Saturn in 1997 or whenever that was. Probably the same thing.
Did you ever have a Sega Game Gear? That was one of my. I wasn't a Game Boy guy. We had the Game Gear from Sega when I was a kid.
We had all the Sega things. And then we had a Dreamcast, which I also have sitting right back here behind me somewhere. Great systems that never took off. And then I got into PlayStation. I've had one of the Xboxes, I think, at some point, in college. But the Switch has been good for me. It's so simple. And you'll see when you have kids, it's great for kids. It is perfect for it. So I guess I'll get outdated on that too now, Chad tells me. Whatever. I really want to play this college. Maybe I'll do what I did in high school. I'll go to Best Buy and just play it there for a long time. That's what I did in high school. I just go in there and play their games for free. Maybe I'll just do that. All right. We'll come back. We'll tell you what's on tap this weekend, including Royals baseball next.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy. have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
and 1240 KFH.
All right, everybody. So the Royals get a big 3-game series with the A's. Reagan's Lugo Singer. It's time to sweep them. Those game times, 6:40, 6:10, and 1:10. You will hear the Royals on Saturday and Sunday. We've got Wichita State baseball that covers them up tonight, and then you'll get both Shocker baseball and the Royals for the rest of the weekend. So that's there for you. Congratulations to our giveaway winners today. Thanks, everybody, for hanging with us on a wild breaking story as we come on to the air. We'll have all the recap from it on Monday. For Jad and Tommy, I'm Jacob. We'll see you then.